Like the pharaohs of Egypt and their pyramids, the coal and iron barons are remembered in history for their achievements, but the industrialisation that they led was built on the exploitation of the working people of Wales.
Price, after all, was a rebel. He was prepared at one point in his life even to contemplate taking part in a revolutionary movement to overthrow these people. Those are not ideas that historians are yet comfortable with. Price was too much of a revolutionary in some senses, and those aspects of our history are not yet openly, properly dealt with.
There are two worlds, not heaven and earth, but the world of the mansion and the world of the cottage, the world of the master and the world of the slave, and the world of the exploiter and the world of the exploited. And between these two worlds there has begun a relentless and grim struggle.
Wasting no time, he became elected leader of the Pontypridd and Merthyr Chartists. On the night of his election, he shook the conscience of his comrades with a fiery 2-hour speech.
We must have an understanding of our cause in our minds, the principle of our cause in our hearts, the power of our cause in our conscience, and the strength of our cause in our right arm, strength that will enable us to meet our oppressors boldly, fearlessly, upright on our feet. Remember that freedom is our birthright, and for that we are prepared to give our lives. We are the descendants of valiant Welshmen, and we must be worthy of the traditions which they have passed on to us. It is far better that we should die fighting for something more than our own freedom, for that of our children and the children of our children.
Meanwhile, back in London, the Charter was being rejected by the ruling class. The Chartist advocates of direct action prepared for battle. The uprising in Wales centred on Newport. When the Chartists arrived in Newport, they found the Westgate filled with waiting soldiers who fired on them from all sides, killing many. But Price's delegation did not attend, even though he is reputed to have acquired a cannon for the occasion. He claimed that there was a plot to assassinate him at the Westgate. The Chartist leaders that were involved in the uprising were deported, and Price too became a wanted man. Amidst the turmoil, Price claimed that he disguised himself as a woman and stole a passage to France beneath the noses of a witch-hunting constabulary, and that during his stay he became fascinated by an ancient stone in the Louvre. Its bizarre and illegible inscriptions he recorded and claimed to spend 20 years deciphering. The stone declared that he, Dr. William Price, Archdruid, was the rightful heir to govern the world. The desperate working conditions which led to the uprisings waned, and the Chartist movement slowly gave way to the trade union movement.
Price fought an endless series of court battles. He couldn't stand law or lawyers, seeing them along with the church and its ministers as being in the pay of the rich, agents to landlords and capitalism. Price, however, would go to court at the drop of a hat over the most trivial matters. He once charged the assistant bailiff of the county court with owing him 10 pence.
As my brain has been ploughed and harrowed for the last 5 months, and sown by the conspirators with the seeds of villainy and malice, I beg you to listen to me patiently and with all the indulgence you can afford.
The Price court case was always spectacular, something for the local people to look forward to. On one occasion, when Price himself was in the dock accused of perjury, he appointed his infant daughter, Iarlis, as his learned counsel. He used the courts to ridicule royalty, attack the state, and confound the judiciary.
Cannot Her Majesty, as the mighty huntress in her day before the land, go out like the sun to find beasts of prey enough for her bloodhounds, without hunting them to sacrifice the liberty and the life of an innocent man upon her criminal altars, without the bloody hands of her priesthood? What? Does the equivalent Queen of Great Britain, the mistress of the civilized world in her day, fear the light of the sun, living in a drop of dew, and identified in the name of William Price?
The jury took just 20 minutes to come to a verdict. The crowded courtroom had waited until past 1 in the morning for the result, and cheered enthusiastically when Price was found not guilty. When he reached the streets, a crowd greeted him with great howls of applause.
I have found it unnecessary to enter into any legal marriage, because I do not, as any evolved being, require any law or religious ceremony to compel me to love the woman I have chosen as my mate. The artificial thunder of the church and the state cannot frighten me to live with any woman under compulsion. No law made by God or man can compel a man and a woman to love each other, but it can and does compel them to live with each other, which is quite another thing.
When you consider that he lived in a time when to disobey church law was a great sin, you have to admire his cheek. His words have a logic, but apply more aptly to our way of living today than valley life of yesteryear.
I want to see marriage become a union freely accepted, freely maintained, and freely dissolved with mutual consent. The community should only intervene in order to safeguard that which is of vital interest to it, namely the children.
And yet, what of the women he lived with, who bore him 7 children? To live without legal ceremony was to be ostracized and cut off from family. Any disapproval would not have had any effect on the fearless Dr. Price, but his housekeepers, as he called his lovers, may have found that living with this inflated ego wasn't the romantic ideal they thought it might have been. So what happened to these women? Well, the only one that we can be certain of is Gwenllian Llywelyn, 60 years Price's junior and from Welsh farming stock, who gave birth to 3 children and was described by a newspaper journalist who interviewed her as a modern Amazon. Gwenllian outlived Price and promised to ensure that his wish to be cremated, as outlined in a detailed will, was carried out. It was Gwenllian, the last of his loves, who bore the 83-year-old doctor his much-beloved son Iesu Grist, the Welsh name for Jesus Christ. Price announced that the child would one day restore a utopian druidic kingdom to Wales and the world. 5 months later, the baby died.